it's Jane here. I'm up at the allotment on what has turned out to be a really, really overcast and somewhat grim afternoon in the middle of August, all dressed in black. I look like, honestly, it definitely feels like the seasons are changing a bit, but also I look like I'm set for something a lot more serious, but I'm not. I'm here to provide a happy little video because what my focus is going to be on today is I was asked some time ago by Rebekka over at Mornings at the Allotment if I wanted to take part in a collaboration to do with what's been going on in the garden this year with regards to things being late, the weather being mad, things ripening, not ripening, all at completely different stages to what we're used to. And the whole idea is there's a few of us have got together and we want to provide a little bit of, what's the word? A little bit of solace is a good word if it hasn't gone too well, but a little bit of encouragement to those of you who might be new to vegetable gardening and who might just think it's just been such a tough year. Why bother? You're not going to continue next year. Hang fire. We're hoping that the hashtag of the collaboration is late but great. Or is it late and great? I'll put it up on the screen. And the whole idea is to show you that things do catch up. Mostly things will catch up in your garden. We are all subject to image overload during the spring and summer seasons. So if you're on social media at all, which you probably are because you're watching this, or at least you hope you are, and you know, the first person who harvests their beans or their potatoes or their tomatoes, we just get all these gorgeous images of these big trucks, usually looking really beautiful and pretty, and you start to compare. And you start to, however much you don't want to, just subliminally even, you will start comparing and thinking, I haven't got my tomatoes yet, I haven't got my potatoes yet. There's a way better than mine, there's a way more advanced than mine. And really the reality of gardening is that it's going to be different wherever you are located, wherever you are via the weather conditions. We've had such weird weather in the last month or two that I know at one point I was stuck in the polytunnel because we had an absolute deluge of rain, and yet a friend of mine who is a couple of miles up the road had none. That's how localised the weather has been lately. So all these things can affect your garden. But as someone who's gardened now for a period of years, you get to realise, you know, it does all catch up in the end. Okay, I'm starting off with one of the main areas of difference this year, and really we can say this doesn't matter so much because it's flowers as opposed to vegetables, but it does demonstrate there has been some difference, because this time last year this was full of dahlias which I was picking and loading the vases with at home. And this bed here was full of cosmos. Now, if you followed me at all, you'll know I was late planting these dahlias up. They were in their pots. I'd potted up the tubers fairly early on at the right time, but I didn't actually get them into the bed until slightly late. So you could say they've had a late start. And the cosmos, they're actually self-seeders. There is one in a little pot somewhere. Can I see it? Well, I'm pointing with my finger at that one. But that's self-seeded in that pot, so I've just put the pot there to fill a gap. But yeah, these two beds were absolutely full. So I'll pop a picture in and you'll be able to see the difference. But you know what? I'm still going to get flowers because dahlias are they flower right on until October. I had a couple even in November last year. So they'll still come, and cosmos is cosmos, isn't it? That'll just be beautiful. Even though there's only a couple of plants there, you know, I'm deadheading those already all the time. But yeah, so there's a difference. They are later than last year, but I've got to say that lateness is down to me rather than the conditions according to the weather. And yes, I've stopped halfway up the path onto my next segment to give you the obligatory shot of all the bees. Actually, when I counted, or I tried to count, because they move around quite quick, sort of in one eyeful, there are about 15 or 16 bees all at once. So I'm wondering how many you can spot, but yeah. Again, if you're new to gardening, plant something that the bees love. Something, however, that hasn't done so well this year are my apples. If you have a look at these here. Last year, not only was this laden with fruit, but they were really, really clean. And I did put that down to just off shot again. The chives that I companion planted around the base of the tree. This year, there's a lot fewer of them. And they don't look quite as happy as last year. There's certainly, the leaves aren't quite as, you know, healthy looking as they were. However, again, apples and pears and fruit of most sorts, you will have some years of feast, some years of famine. So you will get a year where you get an absolutely bountiful crop. And then the next year, the tree's in recovery. So it's just going to keep ticking over so that it can build up strength to give you a good enough crop the following year. So don't think that you've done something wrong in particular with your fruit if it's not as good as it was last year, because again, gardening is a long game in a way, and with things like fruit trees, you know, you will get some years good, some years not so good. And certainly if I pop a picture in here, you can see that last year was a lot more plentiful. It's a similar story with the pears. Again, last year we had a fantastic pear harvest, most of which ended up chopped in the freezer. But if you look this year, not only are they fairly sparse, I don't even know if you can see that one, it's probably off camera again, but you know, there's one or two dotted here and there. We've also got rust. Now, this was a particularly healthy pear tree. You know, we've never had a problem with it before. I know we've only been here a few years, but there's never been any sign of anything on the leaves. So to get rust, yeah, it's not going to damage the fruit as such, but it's certainly indicative of the wet and damp weather that we've been having, where these spores can get themselves around and damage the leaves. And if I just turn you here a little bit, can you see all the rust down there? You see it? It's all, oh, it's very unsightly, but you know, it's not too bad. And if you're gardening organically, it's just one of those things that you just go along with, really. Make sure that next year, you know, it's had a really good prune and hopefully it'll return to its former glory. But yeah, again, that's not such a good thing, but we had a great harvest last year. Let's hope that the tree lives to see another year, and we'll look forward to fantastic pears in 12 months' time. Okay, and if I can show you the courgette, I could have been very disheartened with this here little chap earlier in the year, because I actually planted 5 courgettes. Not only did I plant them, I put little plastic pop bottle slug defences around them as well to stop them getting nibbled. But super slugs, as they are, managed to nibble 3 of them, which left me with this one really healthy plant here and another slightly smaller one beneath. And that one plant has provided me with more than enough courgettes. But this was actually planted about 4 weeks earlier than Mike's. So I'm going to show you now Mike's on the other side, and I'll show you the difference in size. Okay, so if I can just show you these courgettes here. I've come over to Mike Town, where he has his his weeds, and you can see, I don't know if you remember, if you've watched before, you might see Mike's slug defences there. He used foil on that one. Who knows what he used on that one, but it really let the courgettes get away. Like I say, these were planted about 4 weeks after mine, and you can see by the size of them, they have really caught up. And if I show you, let's have a look. I haven't investigated this one today. We've got oh, here we go. There's always an oversized marrow somewhere, isn't there? We've got this nice little fella here. Obviously, that's a little bit too big. We should have got to him a bit sooner. There's a couple coming on there. There's flowers on there. They're going to fruit quite soon. But yeah, considering the area that he put these in hadn't really been cultivated at all, they have just been left to their own devices. They went in late. They are still providing adequate courgettes. Okay, the one area I have noticed a significant difference to last year is with the tomatoes, because we're middle of August now, and I would say this is the stage we were at around about middle of July last year. I'll put a couple of pictures in. Okay, so you can see the difference. We were actually harvesting some lovely ripe tomatoes from middle of July onwards, and yet in the polytunnel we're still waiting for things to ripen. I don't know if you can pick up on the camera, the sun gold here, they have been ripening, and we have had plenty of those, but of course they're a smaller tomato and they're quicker to ripen, whereas some of the ones at the back, which are obviously off camera, some of the beefsteak ones in particular, are just taking an absolute age. So when they do ripen, they'll be well worth waiting for, because, you know, we have got a much better crop, I'd say, than we had last year. However, it is just a waiting game now, because I know so many people have had their tomato plants just wiped out with late blight this year. Fortunately, for whatever reason, we haven't had it yet. I could come along. I'm looking now, I'm checking as I'm talking to you. It's a very strange bug on this one. But yeah, every time I come up, it's with great trepidation that I approach the tomatoes, especially the ones outside. We've got a gorgeous row of tomatoes outside. Last year, our outdoor tomatoes got blight. And so I thought it makes sense, they'll get blight. But to be honest, I had that many plants, I just shoved them in. They've come absolutely beautiful. So again, you can never tell what's going to be round the corner. I could come up tomorrow and there'll be signs of blight. If I catch it early enough, I'll be able to do what Rebekka did. Although hers was early blight, she managed to get the leaves off straight away and get the plants to last long enough to actually produce the tomatoes. So hopefully I'm in for quite a nice, bountiful crop. But yeah, it's been one I've had to wait for. But again, middle of August, we've still got some growing time to go. Just need a little bit more heat, a little bit more sunshine, and we'll be harvesting these. Yeah, hopefully they'll be worth waiting for. And look who's come to say hello. Hey Tiddles, long time no see. Oh, hello, gorgeous. There we go. Always a surprise in the garden. Okay, I'm back down here in my favourite spot amongst the bees and some, well, decidedly sad starting to look lavender now, which really, we've got a few bits just dropping off. Should have been cut back a couple of weeks ago, but I will get round to it. But meanwhile, the bees are still enjoying it, so it can stay. Yeah, hopefully that's demonstrated that if you are worried about your garden this year, if you are worried that things haven't gone to plan, I mean, that's something you're going to have to get used to, because having done it for a good few years, things don't always go to plan. It varies between don't always and never. Okay, somewhere on that spectrum, there's your garden. And some things you can assist with, but some things like the weather, you just can't. And but hopefully it's shown you that things do catch up in the end. Don't be swayed or pressured by everything that you see. I keep saying on social media. So you've got, for example, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. People aren't going to show you the green tomatoes that haven't ripened yet. They're going to be excited, and rightly so, about the things that they are harvesting. So just because you're seeing great big baskets full of produce, don't think, oh no, I haven't got that. You haven't got it yet. You might not have it this year, or at least not to the same degree. You might have different things that you've been successful with that the next person hasn't. I've said before, last year our beans were terrible, the onions were terrible. This year we've got a great crop of beans, onions, but you know, we're getting there, The year before we had brilliant onions, really good. So next year, I'm looking ahead already, I'm thinking, okay, I've really got to focus on the onions next time. You're always thinking about doing something next time. And with that, you can't just take any one year and put it in a capsule and say that is your typical gardening year. Yeah, I hope I've explained that okay. I hope I've explained it without wittering on too much, because I can feel wittering coming over me now. So now I know it's time to go. But yeah, hopefully it's given you a little bit of encouragement. You know, as I said before in the polytunnel, you know, we've still got some time to go. We've still got part of the growing season to go. You know, like I said earlier, even though it looks very, very grey and we've had a few rain showers since I've been here, it doesn't really feel summery. We've still got a good couple of months of growing to go. So, you know, if you've had one thing grow and you've harvested, get a second lot in. It's a bit late, but get a second lot of something. Do a little bit of successional plant. Oh, Nelly said the wrong word. Get some more lettuce in, get some quick growing crops in, you know. Start looking ahead to next year. What will you do differently? What have you learned? But yeah, things can be late, but they can still be great. So on that note, that is telling me to shut up. Get yourself over to the other channels who are taking part. I know Rebekka's doing a playlist. I'll put a playlist up as well, so you'll be able to see how other people are doing it in their gardens, real gardens, and the challenges they've had to put up with this year, but what they are thankful for at this stage. And it'll be really, really interesting to hear your comments as to, you know, what you're happy with this year. Are you thinking about giving up? I mentioned this in my last video about your mojo. Have you just had 1 year of it and you're thinking, this isn't what I planned, this isn't what I expected. Monty Don's always got such and such on Gardener's World and I haven't had that. You know, this is real gardening. It's not TV polish. So on that note, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, come along and say hello. It'd be lovely to see you. Let me know how you're getting on. And I'll speak to you again very soon. Bye for now.